It's an interesting time for business. Tariff and trade policies are dynamic, supply chains are squeezed, and cash flow, it's tighter than ever. If your business can't adapt in real time, you are in a little bit of hurt. So how do you get full visibility and adapt in real time? Over 42,000 businesses trust NetSuite by Oracle, your AI-powered business management suite. It brings accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR all under one roof. NetSuite is the #1 cloud ERP for a reason. It's your single source of truth, giving you the data and control you need to move quickly. Real-time forecasting helps you move into the future with confidence, and with AI built in, you can automate the busy work and focus on strategy. NetSuite helps you see what's stuck, what it's costing you, and how to pivot fast. If I were running a business with a lot of moving parts, I'd use NetSuite for full control over everything. Tame the chaos with NetSuite. If your revenues are at least in the 7 figures, download the free ebook, Navigating Global Trade, 3 Insights for Leaders at netsuite.com/SPI. That's netsuite.com/SPI. Hey, I get it. You've worked really hard to build up your business, and it's doing great. So great that you need help now. The most important thing for your business is to hire the right people to support it. So how can you find amazing candidates quickly? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you stand out and hire fast. And with Sponsored Jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, Sponsored Jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. And it's one of the largest databases of job seekers, too, giving business owners access to a wide range of candidates. And one of the things I love most about Indeed is the job alerts feature. I get notified when new candidates apply. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/smartpassive. Just go to Indeed.com/smartpassive right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/smartpassive. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring Indeed is all you need. The perfect product launch. It's the goal for every brand marketer. High heat, fast sellout, and fans posting recipes like trophies. What do Sydney Sweeney's soap drop, Taylor Swift's tickets, and your next launch have in common? Well, they're not bought, they're bragged about. Fanfare turns your drop into a moment. Fanfare cues real fans, blocks bots, and builds launch experiences worth screenshotting. Want hype without the heartbreak? Get Fanfare's 5-step hype drop playbook with our proven success formula and make your next launch unforgettable at fanfare.io/playbook. Again, fanfare.io/playbook. This is the Smart Passive Income Podcast with Pat Flynn, session number 109.
Welcome to the Smart Passive Income Podcast, where it's all about working hard now so you can sit back and reap the benefits later. And now your host, who can skip a rock over 20 times, Pat Flynn.
While DIY website tools are everywhere, most fall short on design and performance. Hit publish. Framer ships your site worldwide in seconds. No code, no compromises. Framer is a powerful, user-friendly platform that delivers developer-level results without writing a single line of code. Make your designs move and convert with Framer. Framer brings your site to life with powerful animations, dynamic content handling, and a design-first approach that helps your site stand out. Framer is the design-first, no-code website builder that lets anyone ship a production-ready site in minutes. Browse hundreds of pixel-perfect templates or even design something of your own on a totally blank canvas. Add bold animations like appear effects, text effects, scroll and looping animations, and much more in seconds. And it's free to start. The built-in AI handles the heavy lifting of generating starter layouts and can even translate your entire site to any language. On the back end, you'll get responsive breakpoints, built-in hosting, a flexible CMS, and privacy-friendly analytics. Ready to build a site that looks hand-coded without hiring a developer? Launch your site for free at Framer.com and use code SPI to get your first month of pro on the house. That's Framer.com, promo code SPI. Framer.com, promo code SPI. Rules and restrictions may apply. With running your own business, legal questions always come with the territory. Like, can I use this contractor agreement? What do I do if a client doesn't pay? Am I even structured the right way for taxes? Instead of Googling your way through legal landmines, imagine having a law firm ready to address your business's legal needs without the sticker shock. That's what you get with Legal Shield's small business plans. Legal Shield helps entrepreneurs access real legal help on contract reviews, collection letters, business formation guidance, and even help navigating IRS audits. Members can schedule consultations, upload documents through the app, and get support from a provider law firm that knows small business laws in your state. Plus, consultations on taxes or trademarks help you stay ahead of potential problems. And if a client is late on a payment, Legal Shield steps in with professional collection letters so you can protect your hard-earned revenue, all for a fraction of the price of hiring a lawyer on your own. Go to LegalShield.com/SPI or call 833-570-9980 to learn more and get big business legal support without a big business budget. That's LegalShield.com/SPI. Hey everybody, what's up? Pat Flynn here, and welcome to episode 109 of the Smart Passive Income Podcast. Before we get started today and onto today's interview, I just want to give a quick shout out and thank you to everybody who has sent their best wishes and prayers for everything that's going on in San Diego right now. This is where I live. There are about half a dozen fires going on right now around San Diego County. Thank you to all the firefighters and anybody who's a firefighter. You are awesome. Just thank you because they've been working overtime here to get things under control. I actually had to evacuate my house the other day. Everything's good. Our home is safe, and our family and everybody I know is doing well. But there's a lot of people who did lose their homes, and let's just hope this all gets under control very soon. Again, thank you so much for your prayers. And for those of you listening in the future, this is dating back to May 2014. And I always know it's weird sort of talking about real-time events in a podcast because people listen to a podcast in the future, but I don't think we could ever thank those who are fighting fires enough and putting their lives at risk for all of us out there to stay safe. So thank you again. Now, on to today's interview. I'm really excited about this one and actually I feel a little bit bad because the person I actually interviewed a long time ago, and then I lost the interview. But he was kind enough to come back on, and actually the interview was even better. This is Vinnie Todorich from VinnieTodorich.com. He's known as America's angriest trainer. He's been a personal trainer for over 32 years, started personal training celebrities, and then actually had to battle cancer, overcome the writer's strike, and also the crash of 2008. And then he's bounced back, and he's become an amazing person who's done a lot of successful things online now. So he took an offline business and is now doing things online. He has a book that has done really well called Fitness Confidential with over 700 reviews on Amazon. Most of them, almost 600 of them are 5-star ratings. He also has a very successful podcast in the health category on iTunes. Vinnie Todorich, again, America's angriest trainer. A lot of gold nuggets in this episode, and I hope you pay attention. So thank you so much. Enjoy. And here's Vinnie Todorich from VinnieTodorich.com, author of Fitness Confidential. Hey, Vinnie, what's up? How are you? Thanks for joining us today.
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
This is so cool, and I have to also thank you because we already had a recording, and nobody knows this yet, but I lost it in another hard drive crash. Even with backup, I lost it, and you were kind enough to come back on and provide value for us. So just first of all, thank you for that.
Oh, no, I almost said, thanks for having me on again, not realizing that no one would know that. So thanks for saying that.
No, but it was a great interview, and that's why I really, really wanted to make sure I brought you back on. You have an amazing story. So why don't you start with sort of where you came from? You're a fitness trainer, and now you're doing stuff online, but what were you doing before that?
Well, I was, for years, my whole life, I've been a fitness trainer for 32 years, and I moved out to LA 23 years ago. And I got really lucky, and I started working with celebrities. And, I'm saying really lucky. I made that luck. I was doing good work, and the celebrities kind of found me. And I became one of those early on, celebrity fitness trainer guys. But unlike most other trainers in my position, I did everything in my power not to let anyone know who I was or even know my last name. I walked around known as Vinnie, the fitness guy. And that's simply because, with celebrities, they get in trouble sometimes. And we all see these media stories where they'll say sources close to, like if Britney Spears got in trouble. Sources close to Britney says that she's crazy. The sources are always the masseurs, the masseuses, the fitness trainers, the cook, because they know that they could get to these people and hand them $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and these people start singing like canaries. So I literally spent my career, because of the type of clients I had and still have, not, opening my mouth.
Mm-hmm. Just focused on your work and training the celebrities.
Yeah, it was a day gig for me. I went to work, did my job, came home,
I see. And then where did you go from there?
I basically just stayed there. I did get some, yeah, I guess you could say my name got out there because I talked about it in Fitness Confidential. It's the first story I tell. There was this actress they wanted to put in a sitcom, and she was heavy, and they had to get weight off of her. She was a funny comedian, and they wanted to get a ton of weight off, so they hired me. And she lost so much weight; it was so recognizable that when she went on the Tonight Show and Letterman, and back at that point, there was the other guy with the dog pound. God, I can't think of his name now. It was another late night show. My name was on all of these shows all of a sudden, and that made me even more popular with celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
But I was happy doing that, Pat, until literally 2007. And that's when everything kind of came to a crashing halt.
And why? What happened?
Well, first I found out I had leukemia, and I was so far along that it was kind of a life or death situation. Turns out I ended up living, which was a good thing. So I had 6 or 7 or 8 months in the crux of it where I couldn't work at all. But I didn't care. I've been saving money my whole life. I'm not a spender. I don't drive fancy cars. So I was good. I was like, wow, finally I get a vacation. But right on the back end of that, 2008 came along and the crash happened. And well, before that even, the writer's strike happened in LA. And you kept hearing on the news collateral damage. I was collateral damage because if Hollywood is not working, no one's making money and no one's going to pay me. So I had that happen. So I went from cancer to writer's strike right into the crash of '08, when the economy just fell apart. And I started looking around and going, what do I do now? So that was kind of the beginning of that.
It's always weird how it seems like when one sort of bad thing happens, many bad things happen. It just sort of brings us all the way down. And, you felt that ripple effect from the writer's strike amongst all that other stuff. How did you get out of it? Because obviously you're doing really, really well right now. I'm wondering if maybe certain things happened that just kind of took you out from that dip and brought you back into light.
Well, I did all the obvious things. I did have a couple of clients. I hung on to those clients tooth and nail. A couple of them I even lowered the price on. I gave them prices that I'd never charged ever in my career. And the rest, I was hanging on tooth and nail just to pay bills. I did have a second car, a sports car. I got rid of that. Got rid of my motorcycle. Anything that I could sell off, I just sold off. I wasn't a guy that had any debt. Like when I bought a sports car or a motorcycle, I paid for it right then and there. So I was able to sell it and recoup some cash. But you lose money when you do that. Mm-hmm. And I started reading. I found a book called What Would Google Do by Jeff Jarvis. And I read that book, and when I got to the end, I went right back to chapter 1 and read it again because I realized, and by the way, I don't think that book was out until '09 or '10. Whenever it came out, that I read that book. But I was suffering for a long time, and I was like, wow, maybe the internet is kind of a place where I can look to make some money. I think the one thing that I knew was that it wouldn't be easy money. Like you can't just click a button and start making money on the internet. I said I could take the same knowledge I've been giving people for 30 years and put it to work on the internet. So I started doing a blog.
And this was a blog about fitness and other things, as opposed to a lot of what's out there or what has been out there is, hey, buy my program, do these things, and you're going to make money overnight. You knew to avoid those things.
Yeah, it didn't even occur to me to look into them. I just started writing a blog, and I said, I'm just going to make this blog the most real thing in the world. And I wrote literally one blog every day for 365 days. That was my goal. It kind of kept me sane. And a couple of things happened. At first, 30 people a day are reading it, and then 100 people. And I'll never forget the first time 500 people came to my blog in one day. I thought that was like, holy crap. 500 people read this. And then 1,000. And then, eventually 5,000, 6,000. You know how that goes.
Yeah. How are people finding you? Was there any few people that maybe had some influence and pointed their followers in your direction, or how did you get all that traffic?
No, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, I wasn't on Twitter at the time. I had a Facebook account because Serena, my better half, set it up for me. I didn't really, I had a couple of friends from back home on Facebook. I didn't really even know what that was, to be honest with you. And SEO, I didn't know SEO. People were finding it and telling it became word of mouth because I was the first guy that wasn't trying to sell a product. I was just saying, here is how you will get in shape. If you just do these things, you will lose weight. If you just do that, don't listen. And some people would write, you're crazy, you're nuts. And it's like, well, okay, that's fine. But I've been doing this for 30 years, and this is how the human body works. I have a degree in it. You can either go take a pill or a powder or buy some fancy piece of equipment that will never work, or you can do this. And it just became a word of mouth deal, And I wish I know that's not the answer you want. I know most tech people want to hear that I was tweeting the gazillion times a day and I was doing this and that and the whole thing, but that I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to be reminded of really at the core of what we do here online, and that's provide value and hopefully do it in a way that's different from how everybody else is doing it. So I think even though you took the long, slow approach, typically is how people would feel it, I'm just going to write great stuff and have it spread of word of mouth. It worked for you. And I think that's just a testament to the knowledge that you had in your brain that you put on your blog for people to read and then share.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. The other part is, when you write 365 blogs in 1 year, the word fat and weight loss is going to come up often, and somehow you will move to, the head of the class on the internet. So maybe that had a lot to do with it. I just don't know. The one thing that did have, two things happened. One, I got hacked. So whenever someone, all of a sudden one day I woke up and it says, you've been hacked by the devil. And it was the big devil face where my blog used to be.
Wow.
And I said, well, there you go, and I just walked away from it. But one of my closest friends and one-time client, Dean Laurie, who was a producer in Hollywood and a TV writer, and he had written several books that were very successful. He wrote the Nightmare Academy series of books that Sony bought up. He did the TV show My Wife and Kids, Arrested Development. Right now, this year, he brought Robin Williams back to television in a show called The Crazy Ones. Dean became he loved my blog. He loved the way I wrote. And every Friday night we would get together during those dark days when nobody had a job, and we would have a scotch and a piece of fish. Literally, we would meet and have scotch and fish at a restaurant. And he kept telling me how great the blog was. And when he went to the blog and saw that all of a sudden it was hacked by the devil, he started on me about writing a book. And I kept saying, no, I don't want to write a book. And he said, if you just take those blog posts, I said, Dean, I can't even get to my blog posts, much less. But he kept on me. And one day I found myself sitting in his office with about 40,000 words worth of notes that I sat down and wrote myself. And we started, pulling those notes and writing a book.
That's cool, which eventually turned into Fitness Confidential.
Yeah.
Now that must have been, I know a lot of people who have recently wrote books, and it has been a huge struggle for them. It's not easy to do. I've written a couple myself, and it's been one of the hardest things in my life to accomplish. I mean, it's so much different than writing a blog post. And even though you took your blog posts essentially and turned that into a book, was it, how was that process for you, turning your blog posts into a book?
Well, it was, it was just me sitting, Dean asked me to write a few notes, so I'm that kind of weird disciplined guy. I think that's where a lot of people lose the focus. I don't mind sitting down every day. Like if I was driving in my car, I'm still not a real techie guy. So I just kept a bunch of those 4 by something cards, those index cards.
Right.
I had a stack of them in my car. And if I came up with a thought, when I got to the next stoplight, I would just jot the words down with a pen that I had stuck to the cards. And when I got home that night, I would just flesh it out. I would take those notes and flesh it out onto, a yellow Staples, legal pad.
Mm-hmm.
And before I knew it, I had 7 or 8 or 10 legal pads full of notes. Yes, I didn't use Word document because I can't type. And that should be a lesson here. You don't really have to know how to type or use the internet to learn how to use the internet. I figured out ways around it. If I had to wait for myself to get all the words typed into Word, that's not going to happen. I'm going to forget my thoughts, but I can write really fast.
So who actually turned the book and your notes into something that was digital? That you had people do that for you, I assume?
No, Dean and I sat in a room. He did most of the tapping on a computer. I've gotten really quick with using 4 of my 10 fingers. But Dean and I sat there and we wrote together. Like I was there and he was there for every single word we wrote. And we literally sat. He's got my kind of weird work ethic where we sat down every day for 3 hours for I think 6 or 7 or 8 months.
Wow.
And fleshed out every note. As a matter of fact, we had over 100,000 word book that we cut down to 70,000 words because we both are big believers in, cutting all the fat. And that's why the book is such a fast read. There's nothing there that, we're both Hemingway fans, by the way. And Hemingway was a real economist with words.
Mm-hmm.
And he feels the same way and I feel the same way. But we sat there and wrote together everything. People want to think, oh, you're a fitness trainer, you're not a writer, you didn't write your book. No, I literally wrote my book. But Dean can type like a machine gun, so he did the typing, but we put every word in there together.
Right. So it was good that Dean was there helping you out and you guys were working together. Now, you said you didn't want to write a book, but he convinced you. And now what were your thoughts before it was out for sale? How did you think it was going to do? Did you know it was going to be this successful?
I thought we would get a deal based on the fact that Dean I had one children's book that I wrote back in the early 2000s called Monty that did really well in the children's world. So I knew the book process and I figured out someone's going to give us 20 or 30,000 bucks. We'll both take a cut of it and we'll walk away and then the book will either succeed or fail. And if it succeeds wildly, we'll start getting some residual checks.
This is from like going the traditional route.
Yeah, this is if you go to publishers. Well, the first thing we did was Dean took it over to WME, William Morris Agency, where he is. That's his agency. And he took it to his book agent, who said, this is one of the best books I've read all year. The problem is no one knows who the hell Vinnie Tort is, which is a problem. And Dean said, well, there's been a lot of authors that nobody knew who they were before they wrote the book. Mm-hmm. And the agent said, yes, that used to be the case. But we went on the internet, and the only thing we found was, he's hacked by the devil when you put his name in. He doesn't exist on the internet, Mm-hmm. So Dean called me. I'll never forget. I was sitting in a filling station. I still call them filling stations, gas station. And he called me and he said, you have to go back on the internet and make yourself popular. And I said, what do you mean? He says, you have to become popular. It's the only way William Morris would even look at this product. And I said, what, you want me to become like Jenna Marbles? I mean, you want me to be like a chick sitting on a bed in a bikini telling my stories? I have no way of becoming popular. I'm an old Italian dude. I don't know what I'm doing here. And he said, well, either you become popular or you're going to have to find a different way to sell the book. And within 5 days of that, I had a new podcast up.
Nice. Nice. So you discovered podcasting.
Say again?
So you discovered that podcasting was a good potential way to build an audience and become popular.
Well, kind of. I talked to my nephew and I said, look, I need help. I need to start putting blogs up. My nephew is a journalist down in Louisiana. I said, I could put a few blogs up. I type very slowly, but I could get a few up. I need to get a bunch of blogs up. I need to become popular fast. And he said, it doesn't work that way. You can't just put up 1,000 blogs and become popular. So he said to me, why don't you do a podcast? And I said, great. Well, what's a podcast? And he said, it's a radio show on the internet. And he knew I could do it because I had a talk radio show back in New Orleans in 1999 called Talking Fitness, which is a popular show. And he said, you're going to shoot right to the top on this because most people doing podcasts have no idea what they're doing. And you know how to professionally do a radio show, so you could just do this. So without even learning how to turn on the computer, I went to my friend Anna Vocino and said, please help me get 5 of these up and then I'll figure it out. And the rest is history.
Yeah, I mean, talk about your podcast. How's that gone for you?
It is going really well. We've been one of the top fitness podcasts for almost the 2 years that it's been out. We get well over 300,000 downloads per month on the podcast. We were getting more before this month. We were doing 3 a week. And when you do 3 a week, obviously your numbers per month are going to be higher. They've dropped just a little bit because we've gone down to 1 a month. But the numbers on that 1 per month have gone way up.
1 per month now?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. That was a slip. 1 per week.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. 1 per week. But the numbers on that thing has just jumped. And it's jumped so high that we've been getting calls from everybody wanting to advertise because somehow they could figure out when you have one show that's kicking butt.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're trying that out to see what that's all about. Everything is always just on a trial basis with me. We could end up going back to 2 a week or 3 a week or 5 a week. I can talk every day. It doesn't bother me. So yeah, it's doing really well.
That's awesome. And obviously you could talk much faster than you can type. So, I mean, to produce 3 a week and then now even doing just 1 a week, I mean, that's a lot of content. And to just talk about fitness in a way that people can consume it on the go, maybe they're at the gym listening to you. That's just incredible. I mean, I know your podcast has done really well because we met each other at New Media Expo and we were both nominated for a podcast award this past year. And unfortunately, neither of us won, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. I mean, just to be nominated is pretty awesome. Now, keep us going through this journey. You start a podcast. Now, what happens with the book now?
Well, we start the podcast. We start getting numbers. I noticed that people are coming to VinnieTortories.com to look at and see what else I might have there. So I started doing like an FAQ for people so that people could have free content and the whole deal. I had found you by that point and started paying attention to what you were doing. And because I started looking around going, wait a minute, what's other guys doing? And I read an article that you were in. I think it was the New York Times or something. Mm-hmm. And I immediately went to the internet. I went, this guy's pretty cool. And I started paying attention. And by the way, I never bought into your program. I took your free content and use that. That's how cool you are.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any at this moment in time. I don't have anything for sale anyway. It's all free.
Yeah. Well, you have. Doesn't Anna belong to something? Because Anna ended up my co-host ended up doing something.
There was something called Breakthrough Blogging that came out, and it's still there, but it's been closed for almost a year now because I've been working with people in there to make it better before I reopen it. So for 3 days over the past 5 years, I've sold something of my own. Other than that, I've been recommending products as an affiliate, products that I use, of course, but nothing is my own that I'm selling currently.
Okay. Well, it's that sort of thing where we're doing the same sort of thing where it's all of this free content. And that started working. Meanwhile, my agent, I went with a different agent out of New York, one of the top book agents, Levine Greenberg. And I have one of the top agents there. She loved the book. She went to the top 22 or 21 book publishers in the world, and most of them turned the book down, saying that we love this book, but we've never seen a book like this. As a matter of fact, my agent said she's never seen, usually a rejection letter is thanks, but no thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these rejection letters were 2 and 3 paragraphs long going, if he would just change this book and make it look more like every other fitness book, we would buy it in a heartbeat. And I said no. I stuck to my guns. Two of the bigger companies came back, the biggest companies actually, and said, one of them offered us a 2-book deal if I would promise to just cut the book in half and give them 2 books, because it's actually 2 books in one. And I said no to that. And another company said that they would do it, but they would only buy the first book and want to option the second. And I said no to all of it, and self-published the book myself.
So you went on Amazon.
Yeah. And by the way, we start, again, the way I do everything and the way Dean does everything, we didn't just go, well, let's go get a print on demand book and let's just put it, up, we literally said, okay, how do we make our book look like every other book that comes from the big companies, meaning from Simon Schuster or HarperCollins or Bantam or how do we make our book look like their books? So the first thing we did, even though, we're both well-versed in English and we both did very well in college, we gave our books to a proper editor. We hired one of the editors away from Simon & Schuster to work at night and let him edit the book properly the way every other book is edited. And by the way, it wasn't a ton of money. You would think, oh my God, la-di-da, these guys are spending big money. That was like, I think we paid $2,200 or $2,500 for that service. Mm-hmm. The other service, and this is important for anyone who wants to self-publish a book, people are going to buy it in 20 different formats, meaning Nook, Kindle, you name the electronic device, and people are going to want it for that device. And if you don't spend the money to format that book for every device that's out there, you're going to miss a big audience. So we did that. That was a lot of money. So we had it formatted for print on demand. We had it formatted for, Nook, Kindle, every other device out there. Mm. And we also did the audible.com version of it. So my book, when it went up for sale, looked like every other book. No one would even know that it's a self-published book. We created our own company called Pistachio Press, and we put it out on Pistachio Press, so it looks like any book out there.
Cool. And how was it received? Did you blow everyone away the first day? What were sales like?
Well, yeah, we did knock it out of the park on the first day, big time. Dean, I didn't know any of this, but Dean said, look, if you could be within the top, 20,000 of all books being sold on Amazon Kindle, you're killing it. Just know that you will sell enough books so that we could get our money back. And he says, I said, okay. And he goes, look, if somehow he goes on the first day, all of your fans are going to buy it, you may hit 10,000. If you get as low as 10,000, you are really knocking it out of the park. Every publisher wants their books to be at or below 10,000. I said, okay, well.
This is ranking in Amazon, right?
Yeah, on Amazon ranking on Kindle.
Okay.
Well, my book came out at about 14,000 because my Ravenous fans went out right away and started buying.
And those are fans from the podcast?
From the podcast.
Okay, cool.
That's all I had. And so we both went, wow, 14. And Dean called me. I was out working, and Dean called me about an hour later. He goes, dude, you just hit 11,000. And I made a joke. I said, wow, maybe I'll hit, below 10,000. He goes, yeah. He goes, your fans are going to stop buying at some point. Well, to make a really long story short, by 8 o'clock the first night, we were at below 400 at 368 of all books, all the millions of books being sold in Kindle. We were book number 368. We were number 3 in memoirs. Right, we were beating out. I can't remember her name. The girl from Saturday Night Live that played Sarah Palin. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Hold on. Okay, now I have to look this up.
Yeah.
and I'm gonna kick myself for.
We were beating out a book about the Queen of England,
Tina Fey.
And like we couldn't believe it. And Dean said, "Well, all of you fans just came out in big time fashion," and he goes, "Expect it to be at 20,000 by late tomorrow." Well, it literally stayed below 1,000 for about a month, and then it started creeping between 800 and 1,200 per day. We never saw 10,000 ever until we got to right before Christmas, and then we did a Christmas sale and went back down to about 1,000 or maybe 700. And I think as it sits today, it's at 18 or 19,000. I don't know where it is today, but it fluctuates. Mm-hmm. But whenever we do any kind of promo, it drops back down. Like if you said, Vin, we want to see you book. Like if I know I'm going to do Opie and Anthony's show and I want to look like a real cool dude, I can do some promo stuff and get that book right down to, 9,000 in a heartbeat,
And then how can you share how those numbers, the rankings in Amazon's, might translate to sales? I mean, you don't have to give us exact numbers if you're not comfortable, but just like how many books are we talking about here? Or maybe even just tell us how many have you sold thus far?
Well, I used to say it was thousands and then it became tens of thousands. We're still below 100,000 books, but we have sold a lot of books. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, that's...
My partner and I don't mention.
Sure.
But yeah, and by the way, the book is still selling like hotcakes. And the one thing that doesn't count in those rankings, and it's where we sell most, like this has become like a crazy thing, is the audible.com thing. That sells more books, and that doesn't even go into the ranking of the book.
So you're saying the audio version of the book is selling better than the paper version or the electronic version?
No, it would have to sell. It would have to sell a ton to outdo the paper version. But the amount that comes in on Audible.com, I was told that Audible is a tough sell. And someone told me that if you sell 500 books in your first year on Audible, being a self-published author, consider yourself the luckiest man on earth. Somebody told me, another guy that worked at Audible said, 200 or 300 is about all you might sell since you have a podcast that people may pick it up. We went past 500 books on Audible within the first week.
Wow.
And it sells like you wouldn't believe every day. As a matter of fact, I'm up for an Audible award on the book. And it's a book I didn't want to do it, because Dean wanted me to be the voice, and I have a horrible voice and I hate the way I read. But I was convinced to go in the booth and do it. And I'm glad I did now.
Oh, so you did record it yourself?
What?
You did record it yourself?
Yeah, and I literally kicked and screamed. I was in front of the mic with the headphones on in the booth. Again, we hired Audible's guys to do it. And I was sitting in the booths over there going, I'm not going to do this. And Dean said, let's just see prove to me that you can't do it. So I read the first chapter, and the Audible guy loved it because I kept going off the page. And by the way, we think that's something that's happening with this book, is that the book, I go off the page a lot and talk a lot about things related to what I'm reading. The other thing I do is I kept stuff in that we took out of the final edit of the book. I kept it in the Audible, so that's added content. And then Dean comes in at the end, which is something that never happens. The co-authors, we got together and we sat there for about 15 minutes and talked to the audience about how we did this.
That's cool. So unscripted.
Yeah, totally unscripted. I said, Dean, why don't you hop in here? Let's just, have a little love affair with the mic. And we did that, and it turned out really well.
I mean, I could see why people might be gravitating toward the Audible version, especially if you have a crowd that really spreads you by word of mouth, if they're like, hey guys, like check out the audio version, there's stuff in here that you won't find anywhere else. I imagine that might have contributed to the increase in number of sales on Audible.
That would be my guess.
Do you think there's an opportunity for podcasters out there, people who even have books, who may not be using Audible or who may only be reading their exact text, to give their audience a little bit something extra? Whether it's it could almost be like a hidden podcast, type of thing in the book itself, as far as the audio version is concerned.
I don't think that's a bad idea at all. This is really the Wild West when it comes to what's going on right now. And, no one told me to do that. But as you know, you've heard my show, the Angriest Trainer Podcast. I can't stay on topic for 2 minutes on anything. And
I had the privilege of being on your show, which was a lot of fun.
And by the way, we'd love to have you back on. You were one of our favorite guests. I said it to everyone. No, but really, we'd love to have you back on. I never stay on topic on anything, and it's kind of something that people find charming about me. Serena doesn't. People who have to live with me don't find it all that charming, but it's kind of worked as a brand for me. And it's funny because I was listening to, I don't get to read as much as I used to, so I'm listening to more audibles myself. And I was listening to Crush It by Vaynerchuk, Gary Vaynerchuk, on audio. And he did that a bunch of times too. So I think more guys are doing that. When I say guys, I'm meaning guys,
people,
everyone is going off the page a bit and giving more in the audiobook than, especially if you read it yourself. We used to hand these things off to James Earl Jones or someone like that.
Morgan Freeman, right?
But we're doing them ourselves, and it's paying off.
Yeah, I think that's a huge opportunity there for people. Who would have thought that that would even be okay? I don't see why it wouldn't be okay, but I think people feel like the audiobooks have to be exactly like the text version, and it doesn't have to be. And I think there's a huge opportunity out there for premium podcast type material being sold through channels like Audible. Now, I don't know, and I do have an audio version of my book Let Go as well, which is on audiobooks.com. But are there rules like could somebody who has a podcast who doesn't yet have a book produce something on Audible like that? I don't know.
Without having the actual book, I don't know. I think that's an interesting question. Because if so, I can go back into a booth tomorrow and start recording all kinds of stuff. As a matter of fact, I bought this little machine. It's sitting right here on my desk, and I just started using it. It's called a Zoom H6. And it's a little portable recorder, and I hook it right up to my Shure SM57 or 58, and I've been recording stuff in there so that people can go to VinnieTartaries.com and actually listen to pure lessons without me, yammering with Anna and the guest and the whole thing, where it's just like 5 and 10 minute pieces of me just saying, here's how, if you want to be in ketosis, here's how you do it. If you want to be no sugars, no grains, here's how you do it. If you weigh 300 pounds and you want to lose 100 pounds, here's how you do it. And I probably have 2 or 3 hours of content, but they're going to be in 5 and 10 minute pieces so that people can, it'll be like, going to a smorgasbord, just pick and choose, decide what you want to listen to that day.
Right.
So I'm doing that myself for free. Now, if I took all of those and put them together and put them on Audible, could I sell them? That's an interesting thought.
Yeah, I'll actually go to audiobooks.com or Audible after this interview and see if that's even possible. Or do you have to have like a book in Kindle or on Amazon or published at a traditional publisher in order to qualify to be able to do that? We'll see. I don't know, but just spitballing here.
Yeah. We might, you and I meaning you, might have just come up with one of the best ideas in the history of the internet.
No, I doubt it's that. But I'm always looking for new opportunities and new ways to deliver content. I mean, Audible and audiobooks.com are platforms which have an existing audience. It's its own search engine. If people are searching for particular things, it could be, the next thing that people produce content for. That being said, there's always that point at which people who do this new, they get the most benefit from it, and then all of a sudden it becomes saturated. So I could see, if it is possible, audiobooks.com or Audible saying, no, you have to have a book, because if this is something that works, then people are going to just start spamming and flooding it with crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're right. They may do it that way. But then again, I mean, look at something like Netflix. That started off where they would just play other people's movies, and now they're doing original content. So I know that's way different than what we're talking about here, but it all changes.
No, that's true. So I know we've talked about self-publishing versus traditional publishing a lot here in the past. We've had a show with Jeff Goins on, which I recommend you listen to if you're into publishing. A lot of great, very tactical, strategic things you could do in that episode. First of all, just again, thank you for coming on the show. We're approaching the 43-minute mark here, and I just want you to tell everybody, everybody out there, based on your experience, maybe one or two tips for everybody who is getting into online business, or perhaps they are in that sort of down moment of their lives. They got laid off, or they just don't love their job. I mean, you were going through a lot of incredibly tough moments of your life, all within a very short time period. What advice would you give for people who are feeling that way right now?
The biggest piece of advice, I know this sounds kind of toolish, but stick with it. That's number one. Do it, believe in what you're doing, and stick with it. It matters so much. I had nowhere else to go. I'm not qualified to do anything else except fitness. I just had to find a different platform to do fitness. And I found this box sitting on my desk and decided that box was going to be how I did business. Nothing will happen overnight. Don't expect money. Don't think you're going to put up something cheap on the internet and people are going to just go, oh my God, I have to do that. You can't scam people. People are too smart. You don't want to scam people. Be honest with yourself, be honest with people, and you're going to succeed. But it's not going to happen overnight.
Awesome. Thank you, Vinnie. Again, author of Fitness Confidential, which you can find on Amazon. If you go to the show notes here, which I'll mention at the end of the show, you'll get a direct link to it. And I'm looking at it right now. I mean, it's being sold for $9.99, which is on the higher end of the Kindle spectrum. And then I see 639 customer reviews at nearly 5 stars. So, I mean, just congratulations on all the success and the continued success that you're having from launching your podcast. Really quick question with your website. I mean, were you able to fix that eventually?
What I did was I made it go away. I just had someone clean it off the face of the earth. I've lost all of those blogs. I'll never get them back.
So it was hacked that bad? Like it was just totally inaccessible? Yeah,
I gave it to a couple of people and they said, no, this is just whoever was after you to get you, got you.
Wow. And,
we have the site you see up now. As a matter of fact, the site will be changing in about a week or so. We just upgraded it. There's going to be a lot more user-friendly things coming out of the dark ages. I'm trying to catch up with the Pat Flynn's of the world. You come to the site, there's going to be more user-friendly things to do there.
Awesome. And that site is where?
It's VinnieTortorich.com, VinnieTortorich.com, Angriest Trainer Podcast, and of course, Fitness Confidential, the book.
Awesome. Love it. Love the whole sort of suite of things you have going on there, Vinnie. Vinnie, again, thank you so much for joining us. And, we look forward to seeing what else you have in store for us in the future.
Thank you, Pat.
All right, take care. All right, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Vinnie Tortorich, also known as America's Angriest Trainer, host of the Angriest Trainer podcast on iTunes, and author of the very successful book, Fitness Confidential. You can find him again at VinnieTortorich.com. If you'd like all those links and the show notes and the resources, head on over to smartpassiveincome.com/session109. As always, iTunes reviews are completely welcome. If you have any questions that you'd like me to answer, I recommend you go to askpat.com. That's my other podcast. It goes on 5 days a week, and I answer a voicemail question from people like you 5 days a week. It's awesome, and you might win an Ask Pat t-shirt as well, or not really win it, but you get one if you get your question featured on the show. We're approaching episode 100 and 1 million downloads, so thank you for all of you who've listened to Ask Pat. And lastly, if you're just starting out in online business and you want some help and some direction from the get-go, I recommend going to my Getting Started page, which you can get at smartpassiveincome.com/start. Thank you all so much for listening in. I'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Smart Passive Income Podcast at www.smartpassiveincome.com.
Have you dreamt about being your own boss, but still haven't made the first steps to making that dream a reality? Well, I get that. Starting a business can feel super overwhelming with legal forms, paperwork, finances. It's a lot. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about Taylor Brands. Taylor is a complete business builder designed to make launching your business simple and stress-free. You can register your LLC in just minutes, keeping your personal assets and the business assets separate from day one. From there, you get access to everything you need to get off the ground. Legal documents, licenses and permits, invoicing and bookkeeping tools, and even a 100-day business coaching program, all designed to help you hit the ground running. You'll also get a free, personalized business plan, branding tools, and so much more. And of course, listeners of this show get an exclusive 35% discount to get started. All you have to do is head to taylorbrands.com/SPI. That's TAILORBRANDS.com/SPI. Stop dreaming, start building with Taylor Brands. Hey, fellow podcaster, does this sound like something you've experienced? You record your podcast episode on one platform, download the files, edit in another app, then fire up a different tool just to create these social clips? Well, it can be clunky, time-consuming, and frankly overwhelming, especially for creators trying to grow. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about Riverside. Riverside is the all-in-one platform. Record, edit, and repurpose your podcast content all in one place. You just log in, record with your guests no matter where you are in the world, and just like that, studio quality audio and high resolution video. We use Riverside here at SPI as well now. With built-in AI, I can automatically clean up my audio, saving myself so much editing time, and it can even auto-generate clips to make promoting the show a breeze. And with Magic Clips, I can grab the best moments and repurpose them as short-form video, perfect for YouTube Shorts, TikTok, or Instagram, without re-recording a thing. So if you're tired of juggling tools and want a faster, simpler way to create and scale your content, it's time to try Riverside, built by creators for creators. Just go to smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside and use code SMART to get 1 month free on the Pro plan. That's smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside, promo code SMART.